Islam is not hatred or adversity. Islam is neither maze nor grace. Islam is giving Allah praise. Islam is keeping up the pace. Islam is for every race.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, peace, assalamu alaikum rahmatullah. I'm Yusuf Estes, and today we're going to have a special episode of our ongoing series called The Beauties of Islam. Beauties of Islam. And by the way, you can visit our internet website, beautiesofislam.com, to get more information about the series and also to view some of the programs over there. But wait until we're off the air, then you can do that, okay? Today I wanted to talk about something very special in Islam, and this is the subject of how can I get closer to my Lord? How can I bring myself closer to my Lord? First and foremost, I would mention that Muslims, we really don't have a doubt about the existence of God. There may be some that are not exactly sure how to describe God, and I have to be honest with you, that's exactly what Muslims are doing all the time, is to say, don't describe God. Don't try to define Him. Pay more attention to defining yourself. Allah tells us in the Quran who He is and who He isn't. In some of our programs, we've gone into quite a bit of detail about that. But today I wanted to talk to those who have come to the conclusion, yes, there's God, but exactly how can I draw closer? I would like to, first of all, give you a little bit of an example of something that happened to me. I was on a flight one time, and the gentleman next to me was of another faith. He wasn't a Jew, he wasn't a Christian, he wasn't a Muslim. So he didn't really have the concept, of one God. Sort of a thing that he says that anything could be God, and everything could be God. And then he went on to say that all the religions are really basically right because they all say there's God and everybody's trying to get to God. Now I just listened. I didn't say anything because I wanted to hear where he was going with it. He said, God is like a wheel. And I'd never heard anybody say God was like a wheel before, and I was really interested about this. He said, yeah, and the real main part of God is at the center of the wheel. Okay? And then all the people are on the outside of the wheel. And then there's spokes that go into the center of the wheel, where God is. And he said every one of these spokes is really going to the same thing, but from a different way. And each one of them is right. I asked him a couple of questions just to be sure I understood what he was saying. But the basis of what he's talking about is that all religions lead to God. So it doesn't really matter which one you choose, but you need to choose a religion. I said, do you have any evidence for this? Is this something your religion teaches you? He said, no, it just came in my mind. In fact, in the particular religion he's talking about, it's very clear that isn't what they teach. They teach that theirs is the only correct religion. In fact, I've found this in all of the religions I looked into, that there are none of them that said other religions could also be correct. None of them. Well, then he went on to tell me that he was sure that I was in the right religion, just as he was sure that Christians and Jews and Hindus and everyone is in the right religion, as long as they have a religion. I said, the thing we have in Islam that's really nice, we don't have to wonder what the religion is. The way to get to God is clearly defined in Islam. And this is what makes me want to share this with you and talk about it, because, in fact, Muslims don't share the idea that any road leads to God as long as you just be patient long enough, you're going to get there. Islam is telling us who God is, who He's not, and how to get there. I want to start out with something Allah said in the Quran. A'udhu billahi min shaitanir rajim. This is something we say before we recite Quran. Inna dina indallahil Islam. And often this is translated as saying the only religion with God is Islam. But if you understand the meaning of the words and the concept that's being offered here, it's a lot deeper than that. What it says is that Allah is accepting only that His religion is going to be the one for you. The way for you to get to Him is through the religion He is giving you. meaning that you can't make one up, and you can't follow something else that somebody else made up, but rather you're going to have to follow the way that he is directing you to. He has a way for you, and this is the way he wants you to come. Now, at this point, it's interesting that Islam is providing the way to get there through something called the Sharia of Islam. And then at the same time, it's providing you with an understanding of what this gentleman was saying to me by talking about the fiqh of Islam. This might surprise you to know that Islam is actually dealing with both subjects. The one way to get to Allah is called the Sharia, but then the multiple ways to get there is the fiqh. And I said, what is this? Well, first of all, the word Sharia in Islam actually it means a place to water your animals. Now you might wonder, what has that got to do with religion? It doesn't. It has to do with the way. Because the place that you water your animals doesn't move around, a pond or a stream or whatever. The place that you're going to take your animals, it's not going anywhere. It's there. That's the place that it's at. Now, the fiqh is, like this man is talking about, different ways to get to it. So let's look at that for a minute and think about it. The Sharia is going to be what doesn't move, what doesn't change, what doesn't have different ways about it. It is fixed. But the fiqh now will help us to understand these different approaches. Many of you are going to say, well, I never heard this presented this way before, and we need some more clarification. So what I want to do, I'm going to take a break right now, and then when I come back, I want to put all this together so we can conclude this episode and set you out on the right way to find your way to Allah. Be right back with more Beauties of Islam.
Islam is keeping up the pace. Islam is for every race.
I say that the translation has been indirectly influenced with the Israelite narrative.
We haven't faced any problems in our preparations.
You can't call it the wise Hajj. In Egypt, you have a huge amount of initiative going on in terms of developing qualifications in different parts of the system.
Reading helps you gain knowledge, but saving the net doesn't help you at all.
They are all welcome to participate in the discussion and the debate about the development of qualifications.
What types of books our children do or should read?
Join me for further discussion of Focus Point.
Huda, a light in every home.
Islam is keeping up the pace. Islam is for every race.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, you're back, we're back, you're watching the Beauties of Islam. We've been talking about a subject that really is something that takes a lot more than a short episode like this to discuss. So I'm just going to give you the topical understanding of the words and help, I hope, start us out in the right direction. Then we'll give you the website where you can get more information and follow up on it for details. But to understand the Sharia of Islam is to understand that this is something that doesn't move. It doesn't alter, and it's fixed and it's there. One of the things, and the most, I would say, prominent facet of this would be the concept of La ilaha illallah. There is none to worship except Allah. God is one. He doesn't have any partners, and all the worship is for Him. This never changes. It doesn't come up, 2 million years later, and you can now start worshiping a different God, or God splits into two, or anything like that. This is fixed. Another thing that doesn't change is the characteristics of Almighty God. Who He is, what He is, and so on. This is established. Allah doesn't change. How we worship Him, this is going to be mandated by Him. So if you want to get to Him, you worship Him on His terms. That also doesn't change. But He's giving people different opportunities of ways to come to him, and these are going to be limited and understood by something called fiqh. Fiqh is understanding, and literally you would say that this is the different ways to come to the Sharia or a place where you water your animals. Does that make any sense? I hope so. But of course, clarification, you come to the website, you'll find a lot more details there. But now let us come back to the situation we were talking about earlier in the airplane when I was talking with the gentleman, and he said that God is like a wheel. He's at the center of the wheel. All of these spokes and so on are coming to the center of the wheel, so they represent all the different religions. Anyone you get on, you'll be okay. That's a nice thing to say, but there's a problem with it. What if God didn't say that? What if that isn't what he's telling you? What if he only has one way for you to go? Then what would you do? Obviously, all the others would be wrong. For us as Muslims, we're going to accept that the Quran, another subject we've talked about in detail in other programs, that the Quran is the last and the final speech, words, recitation of Almighty Allah to us as human beings. In there, he said that. In Adina, in the Lahil, Islam. Clearly making it the only way, deen, way, to get to him is going to be through this thing called Islam. There's 2 points I want to make here. First of all, the word Islam means surrender, submission, obedience, sincerity, and peace with Allah. It means that you're the servant and he's the master, and you're going to do what he wants you to do on his terms. So obviously, if you understand it that way, you can see that Islam means doing God's will here on earth as it is in heaven. Now, in the Bible, in the old manuscripts, we find that the Apostle Paul is saying in the Acts of the Apostles, chapter 7, I believe is where it was, that he used to persecute the people of the way even unto death. In the King James Version, this is capitalized. In most all of the translations capitalize the word way because it was understood to be the proper noun, the name of the group or organization of the people who were following Jesus at that time. They were called the people of the way, or we'd say in Arabic, they were the Ahaldeen. So the understanding for us would be if they were following the real Jesus, the way he really told them to follow, they would be Ahaldeen, and that would be a very correct way to represent it, people of the way, and they would be saved and go to paradise. It's interesting because it's similar to what Allah is talking to us about. The people before us, the Jews and Christians, following their revelation, here's what he says. وَمَا أُمِرُوا إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ حُنَفَاءَ وَيُقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَيُؤْتُوا الزَّكَاةَ وَذَلِكَ الدِّينُ الْقَيِّمُ. And in this verse, in Surah Al-Bayinah, we find that Allah, God Almighty, is saying this. It's chapter 98, if you want to go by the numbers, that the people before us were ordered nothing more than to worship God alone without partners in true Tawheed or monotheism, keep his religion pure for him. His religion, one, pure for him, and this is going to be to establish a regular type of worship called salah or connection. We talked about that. Pay the charity the poor do, to help the orphans and the poor, to take care of them. And that this is the way, this is the deen, the way most clear. Now, if we understood what I just said, we realize that Islam is teaching us that all of the people who followed their prophets at their time and the way they were instructed to do would all be saved. So in essence, Islam is providing us the answer to say that, in fact, if you want to know about the different ways to get to Allah, it was always known that a prophet who came with the authority and described this way, anybody followed that, they would be in the right way. They would be saved, and they would be the people of the Ahaldeen, people of the way. Does that make sense? Following the Sharia, by the way of the fiqh, following the prophet or book that's revealed at their time, these are the people who will be in paradise. It's not so exclusive after all. There's so much more we can talk about. We're out of time for this episode. What we're going to do now is give you the website. Come follow up with us now, beautiesofislam.com. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Peace.
Islam is peace, Islam is ease, Islam is not danger or disease. Islam is love and prosperity, Islam is not hatred or adversity. Islam is neither maze nor grace, Islam is giving Allah all praise. Islam is keeping up the pace, Islam is for every race. Islam is peace, Islam is ease, Islam is not danger or disease. Islam is love and prosperity, Islam is not hatred or adversity. Islam is neither maze nor grace, Islam is giving Allah